Going just so we don't miss anything. Now I know you said you switched brokerages. So what I guess was the reasoning behind that? Because
You're going to make it public with that?
no, you don't have to go public with that.
Yeah,
It's
no.
and it's well something, and that's a topic. It is like a discussion topic, even because that's something that we often see realtors do is switching brokerages, and then when kind of like what's the reason for the change, and everyone is different, right? What their reasons behind why they're changing
Yeah,
is always going to be different, right? So
I was so honored to be where I was for 6.5 years. I
mhm.
mean, to say they were my family would be an understatement. And because, I then was asked down the road to be manager there for a little bit, it was just, oh, what a difficult decision. But the manager
Yeah,
role was phased out because they were doing different things within, which is totally fine.
yeah,
And then, as that was phased out, now I'm just back to real estate, which was actually kind of cool to
yeah,
be back into full time because I always had to divide myself into two when you're doing those two
yes,
roles.
yes,
And then just opportunities just started presenting themselves to me where you kind of had to take a step back and go, okay, where is my future? How does it look like? And then my team and I kind of sat and talked for a
mhm,
long time
yeah,
because it had to be total unanimous. I'm not one that says, nope, this is where we're going and y'all got to follow or goodbye. So
yeah,
it
yeah,
took weeks and weeks and weeks to kind of decide, is this kind of the right
mhm,
niche for us at this point where we're at?
yeah,
That's the beautiful thing, everybody that's on with us today, is we're living in a time where we get hired as listing or buyer reps because of us. No longer do we need uh, a certain name behind us. Maybe
mhm,
that's not the case in every single market, but it certainly is now, where the focus is more on the realtor as opposed to what
yeah,
brokerage you head down.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah, so that's where we're at, and it's pretty
Good.
exciting. Moved yesterday, so welcome everybody.
Oh
It's
well, yeah.
a long weekend coming up, so I didn't
Mhm.
expect to have too many on board with us, but
Yeah. It's the
what
last
a
hurrah.
what a strange market.
Yes. How are you finding it out that way? Even though with the recent, you know, mortgage cut a little bit, or the rate cut, did you notice any spike in people's behaviors at all, or
No,
no?
no, no. Snooze. The listings are quiet. I was really hoping after the second one that we would kind of see maybe a bigger pickup. And
Mhm.
I've got agents calling me pretty much, Crystal, everybody, every single week, asking advice. Doesn't matter what brokerage they're from. A lot of people reach out to me, and what
Mhm.
I can tell you is it's kind of all across the map. No matter what market you're in, everybody's like, Tara, I'm not getting any showings. Uh,
Mhm.
and I'm curious to see now what is going to happen in the next, if there is another rate decrease, which I believe there will be. Is that going to be what's going to target all these people? What I
Mhm.
do know, Crystal, and this is what I tell everybody, is in one stinking day, this market is going to explode.
Yeah.
Like it always does. And all of a
Mhm.
sudden, we're picking our nose, and the next day, we're friggin' crying because everybody wants us.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is. And it will happen again. It will happen again.
What are you hearing from the other agents that are using Agent Locator? Are you hearing the same thing, that they're still seeing a decline?
Some are busy. I guess it depends on the market that they're in. Some are like it's steady, like it kind of picked up and then it kind of it's still summer, right? So it's kind of still kind of at
Yeah.
that level. But there's definitely different certain areas that just aren't moving at all, right? Some areas like it could even be cities that are 30 minutes from each other. One is just like on fire and things are moving, and then the other one's just like you can't get a showing into that house,
Well,
right?
there's
So
no rhyme or reason.
yeah, yeah.
It's so wild to me. In a market like this, what I've always stressed to realtors is, I mean, all of us want listings. Of course,
Hmm.
we want listings. But when it's a market like this, sometimes you want to really lay a little heavier on trying to get buyers in the car and getting them out.
Hmm.
And when it becomes a slower market, I always want to kind of really focus on beefing up my buyer side if it's at all possible, because
Hmm.
then I feel like I've got some control
Yeah.
over, okay, at least we're in the car looking. If we're not in
Hmm.
the car looking, I'm not doing a deal at all. But if I
Yeah.
can keep them looking, there's
Hmm.
something in the future. Whereas sometimes being heavy on the listing side, you've got listings that are sitting there and you can't get,
Yes.
right? So I
Hmm.
find always in this business, the successful realtors are the ones that are always psychoanalyzing where are we at and how do I need to adjust my
Yeah.
business to get heavier on this end because this end is very weak,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. And it's got to also be, in a market like this where, well, it happens all the time, right? But it's not a surprise, in other words. But for new agents coming into the industry, when they're walking into a market that's kind of just like almost at a standstill, it's not doing a whole lot, right?
Yeah.
What if somebody was starting to, well, I guess even whether it was this market or, let's just say a balanced market, what would you say would be like your first steps? Like, where would you begin or encourage somebody as a new agent to begin that, especially in today's market, and then versus just kind of like I'm going to say regular,
Right.
market or balanced market.
I think our new agents need to be doing open house after open house after open house.
Mm-hmm.
I think that in a market like this, like I just said, we want to beef up the buyer pool a little bit more. And I think the more you get yourselves in front of potential people looking, the more people you're going to have the availability to possibly show them houses.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Listen, at the end of the day, our new agents go through a lot because nobody truly understands how difficult it is to be a realtor
Mm-hmm.
until you become one.
Yeah.
Friends and family don't just throw deals your way.
No, no.
Your neighbors use somebody else. Listen, one of my team agents is going into their second year.
Mm-hmm.
And he just said to me yesterday, he goes, I really get upset when my neighbors are using other people. And I'm like, we all just assume. So
Yeah.
as much as I know our new agents, Crystal, and everybody watching, if you are new, you really want to try to curb what you spend. I cannot stress enough how important it is to really indulge and try to, at the very minimum, get the Google leads coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I know you guys offer the Facebook leads too.
Mm-hmm.
Really investing in having them come to you is really going to start creating that profile for your buyer pool,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? But also doing open houses. Listen, you can't go wrong. You are
Mm-hmm.
going to meet someone
Yeah.
that will need your service, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
that, and open houses could be even for, not new agents, right? If you're noticing your business has kind of come to a halt, there's not a lot going on, right? We have to be working on it to get that business. And if we're having to hold open houses in order to
Yeah.
get those clients, then you got
Yeah.
to do what you got to do.
When I was a new agent, and I used to teach this course back at my old brokerage, and I'm sure that people got sick of hearing it, but when I was a new agent, I knew very clearly that I had to be where everybody was. And I knew that open houses were going to be a really big part of that. And I was also in a brokerage where there was quite a lot. It was a Remax brokerage, so there was a fair bit of realtors there. And
Mm-hmm.
us seasoned realtors don't necessarily feel like we need to sit at
Yeah.
our listings open houses. We really do like to be able to give it to somebody that's newer in the industry if they're ready, and take advantage of that. So for me, what I said was, okay, here's what's my plan going forward. Well, I got a ton of agents with a ton of listings at my brokerage. I'm going to tell them I'll every Sunday I will rotate and do open houses. So I said to
Mm-hmm.
myself, it's only 2 hours. My kids are fine with their dad for 2 hours
Yeah.
on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And I pre-booked every weekend with all of the agents in my brokerage that had listings, and they were more than happy to say, you do them. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, the only weekend I won't do will be our Christmas weekend.
Yeah.
I did 51 open houses. I did 34 deals alone from the open house alone
Nice.
that year. And it was just about commitment. It was
Yes.
like, okay, what have I got to lose, right?
Yes, exactly.
It
It's
starts with a
it's
plan, Crystal. It starts with knowing what it is.
yeah, knowing what it is, but also holding yourself accountable to doing it, right? It's easier to back out of things when we're responsible. There's no one sitting there forcing us. We don't have to clock in or clock out, right? We're having to set that expectation of ourselves and what it's going to take to achieve our goals or get those deals to happen.
Yeah, yeah, it's not easy. And I think a lot of us do run with our business as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to planning and having something every day that we're actually is in our date book to do for our business, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then when we do need to run, things can be modified, but I just feel like what most agents lack is a really solid business plan and maybe a
Mm-hmm.
realistic business plan.
Yeah.
Sometimes we can create things that maybe just aren't attainable for us. So where do we
Mm-hmm.
down?
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of agents right now that are going back to door knocking,
Mm-hmm.
because they just want to continue branding themselves.
Yeah.
But, I'm noticing with my leads a little bit of a lull. They're
Mm-hmm.
coming in and they're looking, but I'm noticing the interaction just a little bit
Little.
disappointing.
Yeah.
Whereas up until a few months ago, I was always saying on the podcast, nope, they're
Mm-hmm.
still answering. There's still a lot of communication. Now I'm seeing a little bit of a silence.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? What is it that's making them go,
I
here's
think too, it's time of year, right? Like I am so busy in the summer. I don't have time to sit down. And the last thing I'm going to do is respond to an email if I'm not ready to do, like, that's the least of my priority if I'm not looking to transact right now,
100%.
right? And
July and August were always slower months for me when it came to getting people in the car from the Google Leads, for
mm-hmm.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. First 2 weeks of January, same.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely same. That's why we always caution people here. If you've watched me prior, don't delete your leads in the summer if they're not communicating with you, because chances
Mm-hmm.
are they're just on holidays. They're doing something
Yeah,
else.
they're just
Um,
preoccupied.
but it's the replying. That's where I'm noticing a small shift. And
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
can't help but wonder, maybe everybody else has some thoughts. Is it because they're starting to see a rate decrease and now they're kind of going, well, once it gets to something with a 3 in front of it,
Mm-hmm.
3.9, 3.85, who knows? Uh, is that what they're waiting for?
Could
Right?
be. They're
They're
all waiting. Yeah. Now they might all just be watching. Okay, well, now with this is a second decrease, what's going to happen on the next announcement, right?
And I'm wondering, an agent here that I work with here, she's starting to see a very small shift.
Mm-hmm.
And she said to me, I have a feeling once, school's back in, I think we're all going to be extremely busy because all of these people have been sitting on the fence for so long,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? That's why it's really important in regards to our leads, everybody. Do not lose that communication with these people, even if they're not corresponding with you,
Yeah.
right? We got to still keep those soft touches, or, maybe you're doing occasional texts, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Keep that up nice and soft so they never forget about you, because they're
Yeah.
being quiet, that's okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when they're
Yeah.
quiet, we always have to have those additional pillars to our business to
Yeah.
also rely on to beef
Mm-hmm.
up what maybe we're not getting right now with our leads, because everybody's kind of sitting on the fence a little bit.
Yeah. They're all just kind of, and you
It's
know what,
almost
it's waiting for them to beat the curve a little bit too, right? So you want to be ahead of that curve when that happens. And so, that could be, some ways that we can be creative with different things. Because once that drops, then the market's going to flood, and really you're going to wish you had bought today versus
right.
October, let's say, right?
Oh, what do I always say, Crystal? I love being right. Who doesn't, right? All of these people sitting on the fence, we all know this as realtors, they're all going to buy at the same time for whatever their reason. They're all going
Yeah.
to be bidding wars again, and they're all going to be complaining. I did an offer last night. My buyers, they're elderly, and they're like, we can negotiate, right? And they chose to go, I think it was maybe 40,000 under list. It was their comfort start point. I probably would have started a little higher, but so be
Yeah.
it. Right?
Yeah.
And I looked at them and I'm like, I love the fact that we're negotiating,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
This is the buyer's perfect opportunity to buy,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? You wait too
Mm-hmm.
long, now you've lost
Yeah.
that power.
Especially it's perfect, I think, in people that have a bit of flexibility with their purchase price, right? They don't have to sit there at the top. They can kind of go kind of in there, right? Whereas like at the higher, for some, it's like it really limits their buying power based on what they can afford. So those that are kind of comfortable, that are either just doing kind of like a flatline move,
Yeah.
or maybe they're downsizing, right? There is a ton of flexibility for those people.
And here's the time, and they need to buy now, even though they
Mm-hmm.
rate is high. We all know it's not a high rate. It's
Yeah.
not, right?
Yeah.
But when you have the ability to negotiate, it's sad to me. It's sad to me
Mm-hmm.
that so many people are just sitting on the fence because they
Yeah.
feel all about rate, when
Yeah.
really it's all about being able to negotiate your
Yeah.
price.
Yeah. It all
But
balances.
so be it.
Yeah, it definitely yeah. So be it. So be it. Uh now in obstacles, I guess. So there's a lot of obstacles obviously in the market, on real estate in general, right? It's always obstacles, and we all have our own obstacles, whether it's work, life balance, and families, and
Yeah.
funding, and what have you. Um, what do you, and again, this probably goes back into your business plan. What is the best way for anyone, whether they're a new agent or, somebody that's experienced in the industry, to kind of avoid those obstacles, or actually approach them, or be able to tackle those obstacles, and kind of get around them or over them?
What's the best way to tackle an obstacle?
Mm-hmm. In your
Well,
business, or as even a new agent, seasoned agent. Yeah, those things that kind of stop
that
us in our tracks, right?
can stop us, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we're dealing with, you guys all know my friends with different personalities that
Mm-hmm.
we come across. We're dealing with people that aren't pre-approved sometimes and think they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're dealing with trying to do phone calls and having very rude people.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times too, sometimes an agent's obstacle is their own finances,
Mm-hmm.
right? What can they spend to invest in their business? I
Mm-hmm.
think going forward, my old broker of record, Louis Lamares, he used to always talk about knowing your numbers.
Yeah.
And you're knowing your numbers and what you have available to spend on your business does coincide with that business plan that you
Mm-hmm.
create. We're always going to have people that ghost us or are terrible to us on the phone and, aren't pre-approved, but they say they are, and we've spent a lot of time with them. We
Mhm.
got to brush it off. But what we have to do in order to overcome our obstacles is have enough training, get ourselves involved with enough different programs that are out there to help us overcome each obstacle as they hit, and know your numbers and what you can spend on your business,
Mhm.
right? Listen, at the end of the day, if you decide you don't, your obstacle is, I don't have money to buy leads, or, then what you want to do is, though, that's where you want to overcome that obstacle by getting leads another way. Is
Mhm.
that doing the open houses?
Yeah.
Are you involving yourself in the community and networking groups, which can
Mhm.
also be free of charge,
Yes.
and branding yourself other ways?
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of great coaches out there that offer a lot of great packages.
Mhm.
That of course you're going to have to buy, but give
Yeah.
you resources to help you overcome,
Become those. Yeah.
right?
It's
Yeah, I would
either
love to hear, Crystal, from anybody.
yes.
Go
Yeah. Anyone that's on here, if you guys have
on.
or want to chat, chat about, you know, any of the obstacles or what you do to
Yeah.
overcome them, or what you're doing in a time where perhaps, there's a lull in your business and we can't spend as much money on marketing as we normally would. What are any of you guys doing differently to make sure that there's always, some level of business coming into your database?
Right. Do you know, I mean, this is the time of year as well where there's a lot of outdoor events.
Mm-hmm.
Is your community doing a local fireworks this long weekend coming up?
Mm-hmm.
Do you maybe want to go to Costco, buy some water bottles,
Mm-hmm.
take your business card to them and give them out? There are so many
Yep.
things I did as a new
Mm-hmm.
realtor. I was everywhere. There's a local event. And that's all
There.
I did.
I think it's
My
time
kids,
or money, right? It's
yeah,
almost like you either have a lot of money to spend or you have the time to
take
make up
my
for it.
cards to the water bottles.
Yeah.
I took my boys, that push along, not a stroller, but what do they call
I don't
it?
know.
Little trailers or whatever.
Oh, wagon.
Wagon.
There you
I said, oh my God, a wagon.
go.
And I would fill it with the water bottles, and I would walk around and say, hey, everybody, do you want a free bottle of water? I'm a local realtor.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of business because a lot of people said, oh, well, what do you think about this? And I always had my
Hmm.
phone on me. So if they wanted to give me their info, that's what I
Yeah.
did. You know,
Hmm.
it's
It.
just a whole other area. What I love about real estate is we don't have to be in a box
No.
to get business. You
Yeah.
got to think
You
inside.
can think outside the box. Yeah, it's definitely
You
yeah.
go,
Sometimes you have to be creative, right? You got to get creative with your marketing and creative, what can you be doing different than everyone else? Kind of watching what's everyone else doing, what can I do a little bit differently? And that kind of falls into getting recognized in the market. And this goes for anyone, is getting recognized in your market. And so community events, that's one way. I know I talked to, and it could have been you. I don't talk to to some of our other professionals, and it could be just like becoming involved in the community shops, right? So doing little video content on their cafe, and being involved in the community and showcasing other businesses,
right.
to get known as being somebody that's known to the area. But you can also be networking with those store owners, because if you're going to help potentially or possibly bring in clients for them or customers for them, they may just say, hey, yeah, leave your cards here. Or next time somebody's talking, your name comes out of their mouth, right? So um
What
mhm.
and here's what I've always done is when I've gone outside the box and I've been at different community events,
Mhm.
if you are getting leads, your Google leads, you can send them an invite, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
say, listen, for anybody that's going to be at Victoria Park in Whitby for the fireworks, I'm using that as an
Yeah.
example. I'll be there giving out free water bottles. Stop and say hi to me. You
Yeah.
see, we have to use our database inside Agent Locator as a way of letting everybody know where we are all the time,
Yeah.
right? We all know I send
Mhm.
out open house invitations that way and so forth and so forth. But
Yeah.
what a great thing to say, hey, listen, come get your free water bottle, or whatever it is you're giving away,
Whatever it is. Yeah.
right? And you
Yeah.
just never know. When I've done that multiple times, a lot of my leads have come to where I've been, and whether
Mhm.
it's an open house or whether it's an event, just to say hi.
Yeah. Some people just want to meet you to see who you are.
And everybody wants something for free.
Yeah.
Right?
Let's
Right?
face it, mom doesn't want to spend $4 on the bottle. Let's go find Tara.
Exactly. Exactly. Right now, there's a lot of rib fests going along
Yeah.
all over. I'm sure it's all over Canada, not just
Yeah.
United thing.
Yeah.
For many, many, many years, I volunteered on Rib Fest weekend for the Rotary, the local Rotary that was putting it on.
Mhm.
And my clients would bring their family and they would stop by because I would usually volunteer in the beer tent. That was just kind of where they always put me. And I ended up getting a ton of business that way,
Yeah.
because now I'm meeting more people and
You're interacting with them and
everybody talks
talking
to
to
me
them,
when they're
right?
drinking.
Yeah. Like they're so much easier to talk to. They're not so
Everybody talks
everyone's always a little more well, most people are a little more pleasant.
right?
Here,
So
take this.
that's just a great way, my friends, of kind of going, okay, how can I dig a little deeper to brand myself? And I
Mhm.
always say to myself, this isn't about getting an appointment when I do these extra things. This is about branding Tara Baylis.
Yeah.
I can
Mhm.
leave all of these events feeling like I'm successful,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
These people here now know I'm a realtor,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
And just never say never.
No,
What
for
can
sure.
happen? Yeah.
Yeah. No, and those are great things that cost it again, cost you only but your time, right? So if you're limited on funds, and maybe a case of water. But if you're limited on funds, and that's the really, a really great way to go about it. Now in your years of experience, what's things that people should essentially that you found, and again, everyone else can kind of, if you want to pipe in and kind of join the discussion or use in the chat, whatever it is, um, wish that you had maybe avoided, that you thought was going to be a great idea, and then just really either ate up too much time with no reward or too much money with no real reward from it.
I got it. I feel like I've tried a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you, for a lot of agents who I can only assume have a bigger budget than I do,
Mm-hmm.
it can work. But for quite a long period of time, I farmed. I still
Mm-hmm.
have a pillar of my business as farming. I just do it a little differently now. We farm via door knocking to our just lists, just
Mm-hmm.
souls. We
Yeah.
do it that way. But for a number of years, I would do a large group of neighborhood through unaddressed mail. And every month something would go out from me. And it cost me, clearly it's thousands and thousands of dollars,
Yeah.
thousands.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes, and this is the thing about having a business plan and a budget. The one thing you need to do is you do need to kind of go over your numbers every 4 or 5 months just to
Mm-hmm.
see if you're getting any traction at all,
Yeah.
right? With
Mm-hmm.
farming, it takes a really long time. They used to say it can take 3 to 5 years before you get one deal. And
Mm-hmm.
after almost 2 years of doing it and thousands of money, and I still hadn't really even gotten one listing, that was something that I had to reevaluate, Crystal. Like I
Mm-hmm.
had to go, okay, if I throw this budget back into my Google leads, beef
Mm-hmm.
that up, where's my trade-off?
Yeah.
Right? And that's what I ended up doing. And then I just redid the farming a different way.
Different way. So did more of a manual effort versus a paid effort. But you still got to pay if you're dropping stuff off, printing and stuff like that. But it's a fraction of the cost. It's a fraction of the cost of going through Canada Post. And trust me, it was with a team that did it. And I'd take all these things in my car to Canada Post. And it was that, because they do it every 2 weeks, I think. Thousands of dollars, right? But it's really and I guess every market's different, right? Because people need to see your brand over and over again. And it's there and it's there and it's there. So like here, even down kind of where my mom lives, there's one realtor God only knows how much he spends on bus benches and bus, like the big things. Like almost everywhere I see this guy's name. He didn't start off as big, but like now it's basically he's consuming and assuming all of these different bus things. So it's like, I know the guy's name. I don't live there. Like I've seen his name enough.
Let me ask you this. You need a realtor.
Mm-hmm.
You tell me that his name wouldn't cross your mind now.
No, it does. I know his name. I don't live down there. I know his name because I've seen it so many times driving, and it didn't matter where I was driving, I saw his name everywhere. I was like, man, and one of my thoughts was like, man, this guy spends a lot of money on like these posters, right? But
that's where good branding is, right?
Yeah.
So you have to give kudos to the ones that are able financially to keep that up. Because they will now eventually get a fair bit of the monopoly of the market, right?
Oh, yeah.
People will think of the name.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things. I believe that if you come across something to market yourself or whatever in real estate, unless the cost of it is ridiculous right from the get-go, I think you try it. I really do believe that we all have our niches. And all of our pillars of our business can be different. We don't all have to have the same, right? I know somebody at my old brokerage who really made an effort. He was newer to the country within 5 years, so he didn't have a vast amount of a social life and friends here. He stepped into the networking. He went to every networking event in his community that he could find on Eventbrite. Gave out his card. Everybody started talking to him about real estate because that's what people do when we say we're a realtor.
Yeah.
And started doing deals. Right? That's his perfect pillar.
Yeah.
And he buys leads, right? So he's got
he has that. And then and it really comes down to some nice personality too, right? Do you feel comfortable going into those networking events that you have no idea who any of these people are? Right. But that's also something that, as you know, it's those, situations we can get ourselves in that make us feel uncomfortable that only are going to allow us to grow. Because, he may have been uncomfortable the first few that he did, but then after that, it was easy breezy. Let's go. Who can I make friends with today? Right.
Very, very true. So I think that hopefully that's helped anybody. Does anybody here want to in the chat and just sort of say what you guys have been experiencing? Or do you have any questions? I don't have my
experiencing your market, what you might be doing or have done in the past for marketing, or what didn't work for you, because we've all had our things that just didn't work for us. And any insights or tips that you might find that you're finding. Again, we can't win all the business, so it's always sharing is caring.
Right.
Right. Yeah. It's if we all stay united, aligned. And
what are you guys experiencing with your leads? Are you seeing they're answering your phone calls and communicating? Are you finding they're a little bit slow in replying like I'm experiencing right now?
Yeah, because you guys use chat, Q&A, because they're all in different markets. You guys all don't work in the same cities, so.
Yeah. How is it? Is it busy in BC right now?
I don't know. I haven't been watching.
Okay.
It was for a little bit, and then I think July it just slowed down. Actually, yeah, like June was busy. I know my girlfriend did like 5 deals. It was like a boom, boom. It all just kind of like everything she had was sold, and every buyer she had bought, and then it's just been like.
like
right?
crazy.
So yeah, I think it kind of was that wave. Market is still moving. I kind of watch. It really depends on what the buyer is looking for, and I'm such a unique market that the buyer, it depends on which price point they're in as to which, if that market's moving, right? So
Yeah, I understand. That's true.
it's kind of
Any new things that are coming out with Agent Locator that you think is worth noting?
not yet I think of. I can't think of. I know we are, and it's going to be a while yet, guys. So don't start asking when it's coming. The ETA is completely unknown. They're building the whole lead profile page in your system to be a bit different. It's actually going to be aligned or kind of similar to Follow Up Boss. I believe Follow Up Boss.
Okay.
One of them, one of the CRMs, because we get a lot of clients that just like and kind of incorporating. So looking at the back ends of various CRMs and what our clients like about those CRMs and why, right? So trying to build something that makes it visually more beneficial. Being able to find and see stuff, and then also we're not forcing it. The original plan is to not force it on you guys, meaning that you can
But it's an option.
choose to go into that view or not, right? So because learning new systems and just that, I'm like, I personally don't like it. I get so comfortable like just knowing where everything is and how to
A
quickly
lot of stress.
navigate, and then all of a sudden it's just like there's one of the fork in the road. Now it's going to take me 10 minutes instead of 3 minutes, so
Yeah,
it's the change can be hard, even though it's beneficial in the long run. It can be hard to transition ourselves to get the most out of it, really.
how,
That's a ways away. So I know they've kind of started building out the interface, but it's a lot of programming and
mhm.
stuff. So that's one thing I'm just trying to think of if there's anything that I can think of. We haven't really done a release lately. Our last release was really focused on just all bugs in the back end, just making sure everything's smooth sailing kind of thing. But there should be one coming up because I have to make all the videos for that. So there should be one that comes. I
You,
usually know when it's happening.
oh gosh, our first question.
I
Oh,
already said I have no idea, Jag. There is no ETA yet. No ETA. Like it is a ways out because it's a lot of program. Like even with this CRM that you use now, they anticipated 12 months. I think it took 3 years by the time it was actually ready, because you never expect what you're going to encounter when you're starting to build it out. Then, okay, well, this doesn't work. Now we got to rewrite this and be like, so it's all those unexpected hurdles and obstacles that you kind of have to work through. They've got the design, and I just don't know where they're at with the whole programming, and because it's a lot of the man hours are spent dedicated to that
mhm. But thank
specifically.
you. So
Hmm.
Jagtar, now that you're in here, how are you
Hmm.
finding the market? If you don't mind giving us an update on where you're at, if that's okay, if he's still there. Um, what are you finding, Crystal? Because I know you talk individually with a lot of agents. How are you finding people that spend a lot of time on the phones with their leads? Is anybody saying lately it's been a little bit harder than normal, or is it actually not bad?
There's still some of them are still having good conversation, right? They're but it's really they know how to talk to people too, and they're going in with that expectation of they're probably not buying now. I'm just gonna have a conversation with these people and kind of see
Okay.
where they're at. So I find that the ones that are comfortable on the phone
Mm-hmm.
and being able to talk to people and recognizing that, hey, I know you're not, I know you're just looking, I know there's no intention to buy right away, that those people are actually still willing to have those conversations and are actually a little bit more motivated than they let themselves come off as, right? So as long as you can get them and get them talking to you, it's really trying to figure out what that underlining goal is. What's the ultimate goal here? Why are we moving? What is it that you're looking for that your current house doesn't offer you? You know, and I find that, yeah, some of them are actually more motivated than they actually let on, but there's always something. There's always some underlying factor as to why they're not doing it right yet.
Yeah.
But if the perfect, if everything aligned just like that, then they'd be moving. So I find that a lot of them are having conversation. A lot of them are just looking. When we're watching, and I'm going through a lot of CRMs for just check-ins and what have you. There seems to be a lot of there's got to be, even without talking to them, a lot of decent conversation, because a lot of leads are getting moved into that warm nurture pipeline, which means that there is some level of promise there, whether it's immediate or down the road. So it's just, I think it's a lot of just timing. And again, it's all about the follow up, right? And then figuring that out.
You know, I like that you touched on that, because I want to just remind everybody, if some of you have been on these webinars with Crystal and I before, or if you're new, the conversion that I've had is extremely high. And I can tell you, I've had leads come on there that initially have said, I'm not ready for another 3 or 4 years. And it's been polar opposite, right? Because if somebody were to say to me, I'm not ready yet, it's my 5-year plan or it's my 2-year plan, my response is always very gentle. I'm always saying, it's okay, Sue. I just want you to know that when the time is right for you, I'll be here. It's okay if I still send these listings. It's not, that'll keep you in the market. So they know right from the get-go, I'm cool. I'm cool with what they need. Now, my follow-up, as I notice them coming back on and back on with Sue, might be, hey, this looks like a really good house, Sue. You're not wasting my time if you want to take a peek at it. Right? And then before I know it, a lot of these people can be in the car looking. Yeah, their plan was 3 or 4 years from now. So always know that when they do say this right from the get-go or at a conversation, anything can change. What I always know is they're not going to buy unless they're in my car looking at houses. So I will always let them know that I'm here. It's okay. You just want to see a couple and maybe you've got a 2-year plan. I'm okay with that. Yeah. Just be curious to go take a look. Like, I'm okay. You don't have to buy anything. Yeah. Right? It's fun. It's fun looking at houses. And you know what? If it's a win-win, because you're getting a preview houses and knowing what's in the inventory, right? So, and it comes down to the market knowledge too, that can help build that confidence when we are talking to people as well. Yeah. Okay, we've got something in here. I'm so excited. No, we've got Neelish in Vancouver, fairly newer agent, about 8 months young, into the business. I think there are genuine buyers in the market, but most seem to be looking for a lower than market prices, assuming the market is such. Sellers, unless distressed, are holding up with their expected price, and this gap is widening. So they're not willing to budge is basically their side of the bank. They're just going to hold that price. They don't have to sell. That's the thing, right? Oh, I hate that. Vancouver, right? So. Okay. And you know what? Can I be honest? I have seen that multiple times in the market here in Ontario, multiple times, where of course, they put their house on the market, but now they're still so firm on that price and they don't need to sell. They don't need to sell. And I think that comes a lot on a listing agent's kind of really letting them know that when we're in a market like this, the expectation is negotiating. Yeah. Right? Now, that being said, we can't control our sellers if they're not. No, if they don't have to sell, they're not going to budge, and they know what they could potentially get. And then, so it is tricky, right? But you'll notice them drop, right? People don't want to sit there on their property for too long. If they want to move, right? I want to move, but of course I want the most amount of money I can get for my house. Okay, well, now it's been sitting here. It's not moving. Okay, well, now I'm going to kind of bend a little bit, maybe, because I really want to get out of here. I want to go on a new adventure, right? So, I think as well, Crystal, when we're in a listing appointment and we've got a seller very similar, did you say that his name was Neil? Neelash. Okay.
Neelish, yeah.
In that situation, this is really, it's not easy to do as a realtor because we always want a listing. But if we're on a listing appointment and we have a seller that is setting a very high expectation, which we know might be unrealistic in the current market that we're in, here's where it's different today than it was when I first got my license over 20 years ago. It didn't cost us thousands of dollars to get a house ready for the market.
Yeah.
You know, staging is expensive, photos expensive, it costs us money. And sometimes we may need to be that realtor that maybe just doesn't take that listing because really it probably won't sell when the seller's expectations maybe are unrealistic.
Yeah.
Those are choices early in my career I never had to make. Now in my career, sometimes I do have to say to myself, I think they might be better with somebody else because it's too high. Oh, and we hate to give up potential business. We do.
I know.
You know, it's new. This is a new thing for us seasoned realtors to kind of go, wow, what can we do? Right?
Yeah. Yep. And, sometimes standing, and saying no to someone, whether it's a buyer that, is just going to like drive you nuts, or whatever their expectation, like I know I'm just not going to be able to help you or whatever it might be, or that listing that you turned down also makes it so it sounds like, whoa, 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 you don't get to say no to me. I'm supposed to be the one that chooses you, right? So it can sometimes with some individuals make you, they might go with another agent that agrees to list their house at this price that you knew that they couldn't get, and it doesn't sell.
And
then they're going to go, then they'll go back. In some cases, it's almost psychological that they'll go back to you because you're the one that told them, no, this isn't going to happen in the first place.
You never say never in this business. Yeah.
Well,
what's our next comment there?
Lee is just 6 days ago, got 2 showings on day 1, and we'll have another tonight. Properties entry level in Toronto, properties in the area sell within 30 days. Getting a few calls, but some buyers are still on the fence, waiting for the best deals as usual.
Oh, and that's your listing? I just listed 6 days ago, 2 showings. See, this is the norm right now. Is a lot of listings are just not getting showings because the buyers just simply aren't out there looking.
The demand isn't there.
You're only 6 days in. So the average sale price might be 30 days. Make sure your seller knows that you don't have a crystal ball. We were never granted with that. So it might take 60 or 90. Every listing appointment I'm going on now, and I'm doing a lot of SPP offers right now as well.
All right. Yeah.
I knew that would come back. Every listing appointment now, I always say, I don't have a crystal ball. I'm sorry. But expect anywhere between 60 and 90, because if we're not getting any showings, that's just going to make it even longer, right? Yeah. This probably is the first time in my entire career that I have seen so many realtors in so many areas say, I've been on the market for 45 days. I've had 2 showings.
Yeah.
It's really weird. Hang in there. It will sell. It will sell.
It will sell. They take some time. And then then you have the unsellable properties though, right? Where
even they sell eventually, right?
They will, but you got to drop the price to make them sell it, and the sellers don't want to do that, right? My girlfriend had one. She listed it, needed a lot of work in the yard. And it wasn't like they hit it. There was no hiding of that, all that work in the yard, but people weren't willing. It wasn't a turnkey walk in. It was going to cost them a good chunk of money after they moved in to get that yard to where they, would want it to be, I guess, or the average person wanted it to be. Like the house itself is a good opportunity. It's just the work involved in it, right? So
do it.
Yeah,
that's tough.
It's
a very different market, but I am looking forward to fast forward a few months from now when we're all going to be saying, oh my gosh, crazy. I got so many buyers. Every lead wants to
Why
go.
didn't y'all listen to me 3 months ago?
Put it all out there. Put it all out there, right? You know, my buyers are mad at me. We're in bidding wars, right?
Yeah.
You know, here's an important time. I mean, with our new act, for those that are with us that are in Ontario, with our new act, we know that everything is even more explained, and our services are laid out from the get-go. Now we really need to educate every single person that we're working with of what to expect. You know, I don't want to give a timeline, an approximate timeline that's too small right now for any of my sellers. I'm kind of widening it so that nobody can say, yeah, but you said it might sell or it should sell. No, I don't know. I don't, right?
Yeah.
So if we can kind of give that expectation as being, here's what you may have to go through, then it'll make you feel better. Because here's the deal, when we're a listing agent and we have properties that sit on the market, most of us feel like we're not doing a good job for our seller. We shouldn't have to feel that way, right? As long as you're continuing to work behind the scenes, marketing, talking to agents, sending it out there, you know what I mean? Doing your open houses, as long as you know you're doing everything. I don't want anybody to fall into, because I can fall into this too. I feel like I'm letting them down.
Yeah.
Well, now the expectation is really wide. This could take a while to sell, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. Right? It's a tough business.
And and I think it's just kind of readjusting our mindsets and the seller's mindsets as well, because we went through markets where things were just going so fast, right? And then having a property that in, let's say, a balanced market that takes 30 to 60 days to sell isn't offbeat. That was the norm. Like, I remember it was like looking at the average listing was like 25 to 35 days on the market. Like, that was normal.
Yeah.
Right.
When I first got my license, Crystal, it was sometimes a year. That was, you know, and that's why agents worked with a lot of buyers. Open houses were done, oh my goodness, every single weekend. And they would have, you know, it's just different. I think over COVID, we all got, not maybe so much agents, but I think sellers' expectations got unrealistic, and they can't kind of let that go sometimes too.
Yeah, it's hard.
I mean, you know, no matter what, we do the best job we can. We work 7 days a week. Oh, I just showed a property in Toronto. It was in Riverdale on Sunday.
Yeah.
And when I got the confirmation, and I thought, wow, this is actually not a bad idea. People might take it the wrong way. I didn't. I got it. On the confirmation, it said, you know, here's all the lockbox, how to get in the house. And then at the bottom, it said, by the way, I do not work on Sundays, from the listing agent.
Yeah.
And I sat back, and at first I thought, oh gosh, like, I mean, what if an offer were to come in? And then I went, no, Tara. I know what it's like to work for 30 plus years, 7 days a week, nonstop. What a great way to set your boundaries right from the get-go. Because telling the other agents that, he also probably said, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, Sunday is my family day.
Yeah. And then, you know, and most realtors are going to respect that anyway. Like, you're going to have your revocable by Monday morning or whatever, you know, whatever it is, right? Or, but you also know there's no other offers going in on Sunday, but they could, but they're not necessarily going to entertain them, right? So
I'm showing a buyer. If my buyer on a Sunday morning said, you know, I want to do an offer, now I know, okay, we can write it together, but I'll submit it, you know, another day. Anyways. Food for thought, guys.
That's kind of good. Yeah, because you can run that by the seller. Okay, we're not doing anything Sundays. Okay, Sundays is a no day, right? You don't have to have showing Sunday if you don't want to. I'm not working Sunday. It's the one day you can relax from this listing.
Yep. And that's the hardest part, I think, with most of us is when our people need us to run, and it can really be difficult. It can be difficult on our personal lives, our family life.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I think then, you know what, if I've given everybody just a little something to think about, I actually was like, wow, that's
Yeah. It's,
good.
yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good way to work it. Yeah. Don't work this day.
Yep. Exactly. Wow. Anybody else
Anyone
got any thoughts before we?
feedback on you? Any questions that you could have? We've got a couple minutes left here before we say sayonara.
It's
Welcome
silent.
to August.
I mean, I can start singing if y'all want me to. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, goodness.
Real estate karaoke.
Oh, so,
Oh gosh.
well, it's been an honor being here.
Yes,
Mm,
awesome. And hopefully our office gets a little bit more situated and put together in the
oh, yeah, we're good. Oh, it's
time.
beautiful. It's beautiful in here. It's just my office will have a little bit more walls, so they're getting them up there soon. Yeah.
There you go. Awesome.
Thanks behind me. I hope
Yeah.
everybody has a great long weekend. I appreciate all of you being here. If anybody needs to reach me and ask questions, I'm always just an email away.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks, Tara. Thank you everyone for hopping in, and we'll see you all again
Bye,
in a
everybody.
month. Bye.